Our ninth inventor is movie actress Hedy Lamarr, and she was the inventor with George Antheil in 1941 of a type of frequency hopping aimed at preventing radio-controlled torpedoes from being thwarted by the enemy. Today, this approach is called spread spectrum technology, and she did not actually invent it. At least one piece of prior art, a term from the patent world, is an October 12, 1939 patent by William Voorhees. His system sent radio transmissions by means of a group of frequencies, and these frequencies were alternated at will during the transmission of the message. The receiver and transmitter were synchronized, and the switching method could be manual or automatic. In fact, Voorhees showed how a transmitter circuit could be constructed to change the frequencies. However, this frequency hopping approach might have actually been conceived as early as 1908 in a book by Jonathan Zenneck, Wireless Telegraphy. There are several advantages to hopping among a variety of frequencies. 1. Transmission energy is spread over a larger bandwidth, and this reduces the interference to narrowband transmissions. 2. The wide bandwidth makes the signal nearly disappear into the noise, thus making it difficult to detect that transmissions are even taking place. 3. The frequency hopping makes it nearly impossible to decipher a transmission, since the eavesdropper does not know the sequence of hopping and cannot reassemble the complete message. Hedy Lamarr was actually once married to an Austrian ammunitions dealer, and she would have thus been privy to information about bombs and torpedoes. However, she left her husband and came to the U.S., where she met avant-garde musician George Antheil at a 1940 party. Antheil readily acknowledged that Lamarr had the idea of hopping among frequencies in order to combat Adolf Hitler. Antheil's contribution was the method of controlling the hopping. He had often sequenced a series of player pianos using paper rolls, so this was the method applied in the invention. The paper roll and the transmitter would be read and thus select each frequency of transmission. The roll and the receiver would likewise be read and cause the selection of the same receiver frequencies as the transmitter. The two rolls would be synchronized by a timing mechanism. Unfortunately, the Lamarr-Antheil system, patented and donated to the U.S. Navy, was never put into practice, though the two inventors were given credit for a later system first used in the 1960s during the Cuban Missile Crisis. It is also unfortunate that Lamarr was given little recognition for her invention until many years later, and at least one person tried to show that she had just ridden on the coattails of her male friends. However, I found inaccuracies in the reference. Instead, all the evidence seems to point to the fact that Lamarr, married named Hetty Markey, was indeed the inventor of a type of frequency hopping, and the drawing from her patent follows. Even though Lamarr and Antheil did not invent frequency hopping, their method of controlling frequencies was unique. In addition, it is highly likely that Lamarr was unaware of the prior art. Hence, her approach was new to her. Nevertheless, let's take a step back and learn something more about Hedy Lamarr's life. She was born November 9, 1914 in Vienna, Austria, as Hedwig Eva Maria Kiesler. Her Jewish father was a bank director, and her Jewish mother was a pianist who converted to Catholicism. Hedwig Kiesler had a very short German movie career and acted in a controversial 1933 film called Ecstasy. In this movie, there was a risque scene, and this provoked controversy throughout her life. She married that wealthy Austrian ammunitions manufacturer, but eventually left him and fled to Paris. Her Austrian husband was Friedrich Mondel, and he made Hedwig's life very difficult because of his jealousy. Mondel did not appreciate his wife's movie career or a controversial movie. However, ironically, when considering Hedy's Jewish heritage, both Mussolini and Hitler had attended gala parties at the Mondel home. Yet Hedwig was a smart woman and convinced her husband to let her wear all of her jewelry to a dinner on the night she left for Paris. This gave her the money needed to make her escape and initially survive. While in Paris, Kiesler met MGM head Louis B. Mayer, and she was offered a Hollywood contract. In addition, the name Hedy Lamarr was suggested after beautiful silent film star Barbara Lamarr. Hence, Hetty came to Hollywood in 1938 and was promoted as the world's most beautiful woman. She had the type of beauty that would cause gasps from the audience upon first seeing her on the screen. You could see this for yourself in the following publicity photos. Hetty Lamarr performed in 18 films between the years 1940 and 1949, and she had 3 children. In addition, Lamarr had 6 husbands, and the list follows. F. Mandel, 1933 through 1937, divorced. Jean Markey, 1939 through 1941, divorced, 1 child. John Loder, 1943 to 1947, divorced, and 2 children. Teddy Stouffer, 1951 through 1952, divorced. W. Howard Lee, 1953 through 1960, divorced. Louis J. Boyce, 1963 to 1965, divorced. As you can see, Hetty did not have a very good experience with marriage, and following the one with Louis Boyce, she ceased trying. There was some possibility that Lamarr may have had earlier inventions, but the details were not discovered. You would need the patent numbers, and these could not be found. However, I did search through various permutations of Hetty's name using Google Patents. During World War II, Lamarr was interested in joining the National Inventors Council, since this was an organization that looked for technologies to help the war effort. Instead, Lamarr was convinced to use her celebrity to sell war bonds. She did this with a sailor named Eddie Rhodes. Lamarr would flirt with Rhodes while he sat in the audience, then tell the crowd if they bought bonds, she would kiss Rhodes right there on the stage. The ruse worked at rally after rally. Apparently, Lamarr started the process to become a naturalized citizen April 4, 1939. However, she did not achieve her goal until February 25, 1953, in Los Angeles. At that time, her name was Hedwig Maria Stouffer. In 1966, Hetty supposedly produced an autobiography, Ecstasy in Me, though she later said that she was not the author and that much of the book was fictional. However, it was only 1 year previous that she was accused, not convicted, of shoplifting. By the 1970s, Lamarr was increasingly in seclusion. However, in 1974, there was an invasion of privacy lawsuit that she filed regarding the Mel Brooks film Blazing Saddles. This film had a character named Hedley Lamarr, but the name was sufficiently close enough to ultimately result in an out-of-court settlement. Hetty eventually received a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame at 6247 Hollywood Boulevard. As Lamarr further aged, she tried preserving her looks through plastic surgery. Nevertheless, the surgery was apparently botched, and her appearance was destroyed. This made her all the more reluctant to appear in public. Hetty Lamarr died January 19, 2000, at age 86 in Orlando, Florida, and an honorary grave was established in her native Vienna, Austria. Hetty Lamarr finally started accruing additional recognition for her invention following her death, yet she had indeed already received, number 1, the Electronic Frontier Foundation Pioneer Award in the 1960s, 2, Bulby Ganas Spirit of Achievement Bronze Award, also in the 1960s. Nevertheless, after her death, she, 1, was featured in a short movie by the British Computer Society, and 2, was inducted in 2014 into the National Inventors Hall of Fame. Hence, Hetty Lamarr had an interesting, though quite poignant, existence. Yet it does make one wonder what invention she might have conceived had she not been involved in an acting career. She was obviously a creative and intelligent woman, though her nearly overpowering beauty seemed to otherwise rule her life.